Chapter 9. A long overdue status check. The day after I went to Lambert's shop, I found myself in my kitchen, bulking up my stock of pre-made meals. I'm sure there'll be plenty of decent restaurants and food stalls in the capital, but when it all comes down to it, nothing beats the seasonings I can get from my online supermarket, I said to myself as I cooked. Our trip to the capital was, at that point, set in stone. There was simply no way I could back out of it, what with how excited my familiars were. The very first thing that Fel had said to me when we got back home the day before was "So, when shall we depart for the capital?" And Gen had piped up next to suggest, "Why not go tomorrow? If I carry you, we'll be there before you know it." Dora-chan had then joined the conversation to gush about how excited he was to see a big city, and Sway started theorizing that there'd be tons of tasty meat to be found there, as well. They were acting like we'd be going on vacation. I, of course, hadn't been nearly as enthused by all those plans and asked if there was any chance we could not go to the capital after all, to which Fel had given me a blunt and definitive no. So that settled that, especially after Gen reminded everyone that there was a chance we could get the Leviathan properly butchered there. That wasn't our only goal in the capital, of course, but you'd never know it from how my familiars talked about the trip. My familiars were all about the potential for Leviathan meat, but I would be going to the capital because that was, naturally, where the king lived. Willem had made it very clear to me that if I paid the capital a visit, I had to request an audience with the king no matter what as well. Ugh. I bet there's all sorts of etiquette stuff that I'll have to get right. This is the worst, I groaned. I was worried enough about my own odds of not offending royalty, but that wasn't my biggest concern by a long shot. I wonder if those four will get through the meeting okay? I really hope they don't cause some sort of horrible faux pas in front of the king. Dora-chan and Sway couldn't speak with most humans, so they wouldn't be an issue. Fel and Gan, on the other hand, well, let's just say that not only could they speak, they also both had attitudes that gave me great cause for concern. They could be downright pompous sometimes, and the mere thought of them giving a king lip felt like it was going to give me an ulcer. I was beside myself with worry, though I knew that getting too preoccupied with all that stuff wouldn't get me anywhere. I should be focusing on my cooking instead. Let's do this. It felt like I was cranking out one dish after another, perhaps since my current circumstances were bringing out the full power of my solitary chef title. I made a whole assortment of fried foods, including the gluttonous quartet's ever-beloved karaage, steaks, ginger-fried meat bowls, beef and tofu bowls, meat and potato stew, beef stew, soup with meatballs, foil-steamed parcels full of meat and veggies, and on and on. Phew. Okay, that should last us a while. I've got to say, even I'm impressed by how many meals I just made, I muttered. I'd stored everything in my item box the moment I finished it, so I didn't have a visual of my full output, but thinking back, I realized that I'd made an incredible number of dishes. Guess that's what happens when I can really concentrate with the solitary chef title on my side. Ha ha ha. Ooh. Okay, better make dinner while I'm at it, I said to myself. Having already decided what our meal was going to be a while ago, I brought out a tray filled with oblong patties of ground meat that I'd prepared in advance from my item box. Not sure why, but I have the weirdest craving for stewed hamburger steak today. To start, I heated some oil in a frying pan, threw in the hamburger steaks, and gave them a nice sear. Since I'd be stewing them later on in the recipe, there was no need to cook them all the way through, so I took them off the heat as soon as they were brown to my liking. I then removed them from the pan and replaced them with some butter, letting it melt and combine with the leftover meat juices from the hamburger steaks. Next, I tossed in some sliced onions, button mushrooms, and shimeji mushrooms, stir-fried them until they were soft, and then added a can of tomatoes, some water, and a bouillon cube. Finally, I gave it a little ketchup and Worcestershire sauce, mixed it all together, and let it simmer. I gave the sauce a taste and decided to season it with a little extra salt and pepper. I sometimes threw in a pinch of sugar as well if it ended up being too acidic, but that wasn't an issue this time, so I slid the hamburger steaks right on into the sauce. I covered the pan with a lid, let them stew for 5 minutes, flipped them over, and gave them another 5 minutes on the second side. Finally, I threw a slice of cheese onto each hamburger steak and let them stew just long enough for it to melt. And it's done. Better bring this out to the starving beasts before they start eating the furniture. My familiars had already tried to barge into the kitchen while I was cooking, but I'd chased them out this time. One thing was for sure, the gluttonous quartet hungered. As it turned out, my familiars had been even more famished than I'd expected. They scarfed down the stewed hamburger steaks so single-mindedly, they made it look like they hadn't eaten in weeks. "Whoa, guys, what's the rush?" I asked. "Me. You are to blame for it," Fel said. "True indeed," Gunn agreed. "My liege, delicious smells have been permeating this entire house all day." "Right. We've spent the whole day smelling awesome food we can't eat. Of course we're hungry," Dora-chan said. "Sway finally got to eat," Sway added. That did explain it. When they'd barged into the kitchen earlier that day, like they always did, I told them that I was cooking for our trip to the capital and that they were free to steal samples, if they wouldn't mind all of our meals being disappointing while we were there. That had been a truly grave prospect as far as they were concerned, bad enough to get them to leave the kitchen, though not without grumbling about it as they went. However, the smells wafting from the kitchen had been unavoidable, and I'd apparently accidentally stoked their appetites into a quartet of raging infernos. That's weird, though. It's not like I forgot to feed them lunch, or anything. As I watched the four of them chow down out of the corner of my eye, I gave one of the stewed hamburger steaks a taste as well. "Oh, yeah, these are good. Definitely needs some rice to go with it, though," I said to myself. Something about that kind of seasoning just screamed goes well with rice to me. Seconds. Now. For me as well, my liege. Same. Sway too. What, already? Seriously? I took one bite, for crying out loud, I thought to myself, but the famished stares that the four of them were giving me made it really hard to say it out loud, so I quickly served them the second helpings they wanted. Once again, the gluttonous quartet inhaled their food and asked for more, and it wasn't until several courses later that I finally managed to catch a break. We finished our meal, and while Fel, Gan, Dora-chan, and Sway enjoyed glasses of after-dinner soda, I sipped my usual black coffee and rubbed my stomach. OOF, think I might have eaten a little too much in the end. "So then, what will we be doing tomorrow?" Fel asked. "Tomorrow? I was planning on putting together my offerings to the gods," I said. It wasn't like I was behind on my offerings, but it was coming up on the usual time for me to send them out. My plan was to ask the gods for their requests tonight before bed, then handle all the purchasing tomorrow. Oh, that is indeed a task that cannot be neglected. I had intended to suggest that we should proceed to the capital if you had no plans, but alas. Like I've told you 1,000 times, I still need to pick up our payment from the Adventurers Guild first, and I still have to go back to Lambert's place too. We can't leave for the capital until all of that's done. I already had my employees working on the repackaging for the all-in-one skin lotion I discussed with Marie yesterday, and I told them that they could prioritize it over the shampoo, conditioner, and hair growth medicine processing. The look in Marie's eyes had made it extremely clear to me that this was one delivery date I did not want to miss, so I was hoping to get them ready nice and early to put my mind at ease. I had hoped that we would be able to eat the Leviathan today, Fel added. Just how obsessed with Leviathan meat are you, and why? Well, it's not gonna be that much longer, regardless. I figure we'll leave within a week or so. Just behave until then, okay? Fimpy. What a bore. I happen to like it when you're bored, thanks. After all, when you're not bored, it usually means that I'm in huge trouble, honestly. I sighed as I slurped my coffee. Suddenly, it struck me that it had been quite some time since I'd checked everyone's status. We'd just gotten back from a dungeon, so this seemed as good a time as any, and I appraised everyone in turn, starting with Fel. Name Fel. Age 1014. Race Fenrir. Level 950. HP 10,181. MP 9,810. Attack 9,469. Defense 10,201. Agility 10,024. Skills: wind magic, fire magic, water magic, earth magic, ice magic, lightning magic, holy magic, barrier magic, rending claws, body reinforcement, physical attack resistance, magic attack resistance, MP efficiency, appraisal, battle boost. Blessings: blessing of the goddess of wind, Ninria, blessing of the god of war, Vahane. Ha ha ha. Yap. All I can do is laugh. He'd leveled up, again, and his already outrageously high stats had continued to climb upward little by little. Just how high of a level are you planning on reaching? Next up was Gan, who had also had genuinely monstrous stats from the very get-go. Name: Old Man Gan. Age: 3024. Race: Ancient Dragon. Level: 1335. HP: 10,109. MP: 14,911. Attack: 9,990. Defense: 10376. Agility: 5,479. Skills: wind magic, fire magic, water magic, earth magic, ice magic, lightning magic, holy magic, barrier magic, ultimate dragon's breath, breath of the ancient dragon, body reinforcement, physical attack resistance, magic attack resistance, MP efficiency, appraisal. Ultimate magic soul of the ancient dragon. Honestly, at this point, I don't even know anymore. All I could think was, boy, dragons sure are amazing. That said, as far as dragons went, I was more into cute ones like Dora-chan if I had to choose. Name: Dora-chan. Age: 116. Race: Pixie Dragon. Level: 208. HP: 1319. MP: 3510. Attack: 3330. Defense: 1208. Agility: 4070. Skills: fire magic, water magic, wind magic, earth magic, ice magic, lightning magic, healing magic, bombardment, battle boost. Blessings: blessing of the god of war, Vahane. I take it back. There's nothing cute about that stat block. Dora-chan, too, had leveled up and grown even more powerful. It was easy to overlook with Fel's and Gen's outrageous numbers as my immediate point of comparison, but Dora-chan's stats were nothing to sneeze at either. See, come to think of it, he was taking down S-ranked monsters in that dungeon like they were nothing. But, does that mean that Sway's in the same boat as those three? Name: Sway. Age: 10 months. Race: Huge Slime. Level: 63. HP: 2028. MP: 1812. Attack: 2003. Defense: 1946. Agility: 2001. Skills: acid bullet, potion creation, cloning, water magic, smithing, giganticize. Blessings: blessing of the goddess of water, Ruzorka, blessing of the god of blacksmithing, Hephaestus. PFFF. Arg, gross. What's wrong with you? What are you doing? My liege. I was so caught off guard that I choked on my coffee and spewed it all over the place and, for that matter, so caught off guard that I didn't even care about the fed-up looks that Dora-chan, Fel, and Gan were giving me. Sway, you've been alive for 10 months, and your stats look like that. Isn't that, kind of insane? Are you okay, master? Sway asked, hopping over to my side and gazing up at me. Oh, Swee. You'll always be my adorable little slime, won't you? I cooed as I scooped Sway up into my arms and gave it a big hug. Okay, seriously, what is he doing? Better to ignore him. My liege. Okay, I'm ready. You there, everyone? My familiars had already gone to bed, but instead of following along after them, I stayed out in the living room and called out to the gods, who I knew for a fact were anxiously awaiting my summons. Yes, I've been waiting for so long. Far too long, truly. All right, finally. We've been waiting. It's finally time for more whiskey. Whiskey. At long, long last. A boisterous sequence of shouts immediately answered my call. All right, let's wrap this up nice and quick. Okay, I'll start sending over everything you requested last night. We'll start with Ninria's package, as usual, I said. I'd gotten quite used to the whole process by that point. Speaking of things I was used to, Ninria's request consisted of an enormous number of sweets, and nothing else. Finally, cake and dorayaki. I couldn't live on without your otherworldly sweets anymore, Ninria shouted with glee. Wait, I need you to think that statement through again. Yes, Demidaj's blessing means my lifespan's a lot longer than it used to be, but you're a goddess. My extended lifespan is still just a drop in the bucket compared to yours, right? What exactly are you planning on doing after I'm dead and gone? Gah, don't remind me. I've suffered enough racking my mind over that problem already, and in the end, I decided that there's no point worrying about it now. I'll think about it more when the time comes. So, you're just kicking the issue down the road? Suit yourself, I guess. I'll be dead by then, so it's certainly not my problem. Anyway, here are the cakes and dorayaki you asked for. Fumiya has a strawberry fair going on right now with a bunch of special cakes, so I got you all of those, plus a few random ones from the normal listings. Oh, and some of them are whole cakes, of course. Aside from that, I also got you your usual gigantic pile of dorayaki, so no surprises there. Oh, new seasonal cakes. I have to try them. Now. Right now. The cardboard box I brought out from my item box for Ninria was only on the table for a split second before it disappeared in a flash of light. I heard a faint thank you accompanied by the thudding of footsteps, which told me that Ninria had grabbed her box and sprinted out of the room without wasting a moment. Just how obsessed with seasonal cakes are you, Ninria? I chuckled at the divine disappointment's antics as I prepared to move on to the second package. Okay, Kishal, you're next. Kishal had requested cosmetics, to no one's surprise, and she'd specifically asked for more of the ST3 series, which she seemed to be downright obsessed with. I'd even caught her muttering about how she couldn't live without it anymore, and I was starting to worry that she might be just as bad as Ninria. I refuse to be held responsible for what happens after I die, for the record. Anyway, I'd gotten her packages of ST3 toner, body lotion, foundation, and cotton pads. That alone had used up her whole budget. The STI line really was that pricey. Here you go, Kishal, I said as I set the box down. It vanished just a moment later. Ah, finally. I've been on pins and needles worrying that I might run out before the next time you got in touch. This is such a relief. So she's stocking up to make sure she doesn't run out? When my older sister had started buying ST3 products, she'd quickly lost all interest in using any other sort of cosmetics. She had, in her words, been sucked into a bottomless ST3 swamp, and while my sister had been joking, I had a feeling that Kishal was so deep in that swamp, there was no saving her anymore. In a certain sense, I had to applaud her sheer dedication to her own beauty. And, you're up next, Agni. Agni, of course, had asked for beer. She'd turned into a downright connoisseur of the stuff and had once again left it up to me to pick out an assortment of cases to send her. I had a fairly solid grasp on her taste, so I went with the usual 2 cases of premium beer, YBSU's beer and S Company's black beer to start, then filled the rest of the box with sampler assortments. She'd mentioned enjoying trying out all sorts of beer recently, so I figured that would be the best option. Here you go. I got you more of the sampling sets than usual this time. Hope you enjoy them. Oh, nice. That's something to look forward to. Thanks, Agni said as her rather hefty boxes vanished. All right. I'm gonna go to town on these tonight. It's been way too long, she cheered immediately afterward. Just don't drink yourself under the table, okay? You're next, Ruka. Ruka had asked for cake and ice cream once again. She'd wanted the Strawberry Fair's seasonal cakes, just like Ninria, plus a selection of ice cream from both Fumiya and my basic online supermarket centered around flavors that I had yet to send her. I could hardly believe how many flavors they stocked when I really looked at the selection. A few new ones seemed to have sprung up while I wasn't paying attention as well. I had quite the assortment by the time I was done, and I hoped that Ruka would be satisfied with it. "Okay, it's all yours," I said. I heard a thanks as the box disappeared, followed by a cute little "so much ice cream. This is perfect" a moment later. It was actually a little heartwarming. And, next, is us. Hephaestus and Vahane, the booze-hound combo, didn't need me to tell them that they were up last. It seemed they'd been putting all the manpower, godpower, they could muster into researching the different types of booze they could try, and once again, they'd asked for high-grade whiskey as well as a variety of drinks favored by connoisseurs. I wasn't really that much of a whiskey person myself, so finding everything they wanted had been a real trial. Their box alone had taken an hour to put together. As for what they'd actually requested, first I'd gotten them a supposedly super premium bourbon that was notable for its distinctive bottle cap, which was shaped like a horse. They'd picked it because it was said to be incredibly tasty when drunk straight. They'd also asked for a Taiwanese whiskey that had apparently been garnering a lot of attention lately. It was supposed to be both tropical and very smooth, and it seemed that the gods had started wanting to try it themselves after seeing so many people talk about it. Next, they asked for a premium blended whiskey with a striking blue label that was supposed to bring out the best traits of all 5 of the whiskeys that were used to create it. According to Hephaestus and Vahane, the idea of blending together distinctive whiskies to create something totally new was too compelling to pass up. Finally, they'd requested a whiskey with a wildcat on its label that was well regarded by experts in the field. It was apparently very popular with whiskey lovers, and the gods claimed that that meant they had to give it a try. Hephaestus and Vahane had clearly planned out their budget carefully this time. They knew that if they only picked high-class whiskies they'd end up with only a few bottles to go around, so they settled on those 4 for the fancy stuff and had me pick out an assortment of relatively cheap but highly recommended brands for the rest. I went straight to Liquor Shop Tanaka's ranking for that and chose a few reasonably priced but well-rated bottles to send them. I ended up with a box packed tight with nothing but whiskey bottles, which I carefully set down on the table, making sure I didn't break any of them. "All right, this one's yours. Go ahead and take it," I called out. "Ha ha, whiskey. Oh, how we've waited for this. Thanks a million." "Yes, thank you, as always. I hope you're ready, blacksmithing god. We're drinking the night away." With those spirited cries and a series of thudding footsteps, Hephaestus and Vahane went on their way. That just left Demiurge's offering, or so I thought, but as I brought out his cardboard box, I heard an unexpected voice in my mind. "So, Chem, who is that? Ruka? I've heard there are ice cream stores that have all sorts of flavors. Oh, yeah, those are a thing. You see dedicated ice cream or gelato shops every once in a while, out and about. Go for it. Right. That means you want a new tenant, doesn't it? Look, the thing is, I'm still a good long ways away from the level where I'll unlock the next one," I said. I checked my own status before, and it had looked something like this. Name Mukouda Tsuyoshi Mukouda. Age 27. Race kind of human. Title The Solitary Chef. Job cook, adventurer, alleged, victim from another world. Level 114. HP 569. MP 546. Attack 541. Defense 529. Agility 442. Skills appraisal, item box, fire magic, earth magic, perfect defense, double experience gain, familiars, contracted magic beasts Fenrir, huge slime, pixie dragon, ancient dragon, 300-year limited contract. Unique skill online supermarket. Tenants Fumia, Liquor Shop Tanaka, Motsumura Kiyomi. Blessings Blessing of the Goddess of Wind, Ninria, small. Blessing of the Goddess of Fire, Agni, small. Blessing of the Goddess of Earth, Kishal, small. Blessing of the God of all creation, Demiurge, small. If I'm remembering this right, I won't unlock my next tenant until I hit level 160. It's gonna take me a good long while to gain that many levels, I'm afraid. That's no problem. All you have to do is go on a 2 or 3 stop dungeon tour, Or maybe 4. Easy. Not easy at all, actually. And I am not going on a dungeon tour, period. Anyway, just go for it. I'm counting on you. Ruka. If there's anything you can count on, it's the fact that it'll be a long time before you get your way on this. Now, Ruka, you mustn't pressure him. I've warned you before, haven't I? The god of all creation. And you're usually so well behaved. This is odd for you. The ice cream was just so tasty. I see. Nevertheless, pressuring him is not allowed. I'll be forced to punish you if I catch you trying it again. MMPH fine. Once again, I heard the pitter-patter of footsteps as someone sped out of the room. I'm terribly sorry about that. It really is odd for her to be so willful. Trust me, Demiurge, that was nothing compared to the stunts some of the other gods have tried to pull, I replied. Now they know how to lay on the pressure like nothing else. Anyway, I'm sorry it's been so long since my last offering to you, I continued. I usually made a point of sending Demiurge gifts once a week, but since I had spent so long trapped in that dungeon, the gap since my last opportunity to do so had been much longer than usual. Oh, no need to worry about that whatsoever, Demiurge replied. I appreciate that, I said. I'm still later than usual, though, so I put in a little extra to make up for it. Oh, did you, now? This is certainly a treat. I'd bought Demiurge several sampler sets of sake from liquor shop Tanaka's carefully curated selection, as usual. This time, I picked out a set of 5 bottles from famous breweries in Akita, a set of 7 bottles from brands popular all across the Tohoku region of Japan, 2 sets of sakes that had won gold medals in well-established competitions, each of which contained 5 bottles, a set of 5 bottles that were popular in Kyoto, and a set of 5 bottles that were popular in the Shinshu region. I had also picked up some umeshu for him, of course 7 bottles of it, which I chose from the liquor shop's rankings, as usual. I picked a bottle of umeshu made from sweet potato shochu brewed with carefully selected spring water, a bottle of very fruity unfiltered umeshu with actual plum pulp mixed into it, a bottle of umeshu brewed using spring water from a holy mountain called Mount Haku, a bottle of especially sour umeshu made using unripe plums, sometimes referred to as green diamonds, a bottle of fruity umeshu that was supposed to smell like peaches and pears, a thick, indulgent umeshu made from fully ripened plums that was supposed to be full of umami, and a rather strange umeshu that was apparently flavored with black tea. Last but not least, I threw in an ample quantity of the usual premium canned foods. I heaved several boxes full of sake, umeshu, and canned food onto the table. All right, Demiurge. Whenever you're ready, I said. Ho ho ho. Many thanks, Demiurge replied as the boxes vanished. Oh, and while I have you here, one quick question. You know that philosopher's stone you gave to Fel Gan as a reward? What was that? What was it? Why, it was a philosopher's stone, of course. What seems to be the problem? I think that's pretty obvious, actually. You way overdid it. What am I even supposed to do with that thing? A stone that can change iron into mithril, orichalcum, or scarlatite if you just give it a little magic. If word gets out about this, we're gonna have wars breaking out over it left, right, and center. Oh. Well, I simply assumed that you would surely find a good use for it. I thought it would be a nice gift. It's not. Not at all. I'm way too terrified to even think about using it. Now, there's no harm in just having it, is there? If you don't want to use it, then you can feel free to simply keep it in storage where it can't cause any issues. That's not really the problem, Demiurge. I'm trying to say that if want to reward us, you should pick something other than these ridiculous. Whoops. I'm afraid I'm needed elsewhere. Fare thee well. What? Wait a second. Demiurge.